As part of the study, the team looked at several different alternatives for both the I-44 and Route 13 interchange, as well as the Farm Road 94 intersection. Those alternatives were evaluated and screened down to the 7 that we are presenting here today, which were the ones that provided the most benefit and most likely to provide the best option for the city of Springfield. The first set of alternatives, 1 through 3, are localized interchange improvements. The first being expanding the existing DDI. Alternative 2 is using more of a traditional diamond type to interchange. Alternative 3 is a single point urban interchange. Alternative 4 is a companion interchange to the west near Park Street, where a collector distributor roadway system would connect it with Route 13. And these two interchanges would serve as a pair where Park Street would serve more regional trips, while the existing Route 13 interchange would serve more localized trips and as well as connections to the south. Within that alternative, the connection to Route 13 at the northern end of the improvement has two separate sub-options, kind of a northern and a southern connection, as well as some other options that may exist in between those two. Alternative 5 produces a southbound to eastbound flyover ramp as part of the alternative, as well as improvements to the existing interchange, so kind of a larger scale improvement. Then finally, the last couple alternatives that we're going to look at are improvements to the Farm Road 94 intersection, where crash frequencies have made this to be an intersection that needs to be studied to address some of the safety concerns there. And the two alternatives that we'll look at are J-turns and a right in, right out intersection. The first interchange type that was modeled was expanding of the existing divergent diamond or DDI. So adding additional turn lanes, adding additional through lanes, widening the existing bridge over 44 to accommodate more traffic. So using the same configuration, but expanding it to handle the future traffic volumes that are anticipated. Now for Norton Road intersection, because of the proximity, with this alternative, we looked at continuous green T's, so making a pair of T intersections. So the connection on Norton Road to the west would stay where it is now, but the connection to Norton Road to the east would move further to the north. And each of these would be a T intersection, but with this type of T intersection design, the through traffic northbound at the south intersection and southbound at the north intersection wouldn't stop. So they would be get continuous green intervals, hence the name. Now, as we looked at these alternatives, with the expanded DDI, there would be dual lefts at all the ramps and dual rights for the northbound or the westbound to northbound movement, and 3 lanes approaching each of the DDI crossovers. The approximate cost estimate of these improvements were around $18 million. But as you can see with the level of service letters down below, just like grades you get in school, A is great, F is failing, a lot of congestion, and E is kind of right there at capacity. So the westbound connection for Norton was operating at level of service E, as well as the westbound ramps. So these were right at capacity, not a lot of margin of error as far as traffic projections for these 2050 volumes. The next interchange type that was considered was a traditional diamond, so getting rid of the crossover pieces of the DDI and looking at adding additional turn lanes, adding additional through lanes to add capacity to the 44 interchange. Now, in combination with that, we looked at relocating Norton Road further to the north to eliminate those impacts that Norton has on 44 by moving it a half a mile further to the north along the straightaway before it turns down towards the 44 interchange. Now the traffic volumes here with all the additional lanes, we're still operating poorly in the future with the amount of traffic that's anticipated as this part of Springfield grows and just general regional traffic increases occur. With this traditional diamond, we've got dual lefts at all the approaches and 3 through lanes, and we would widen 13 between Norton and the 44 interchange. at a cost of about $20 million. Norton intersection is operating, right at capacity at a level service F, and the westbound ramps actually would be operating over capacity at level service F, with the eastbound ramps at C, so acceptable delays there. The next interchange type that was considered was the single point urban interchange, commonly known as a SPUI. What that does is it brings the two intersections at a diamond for an interchange and puts it together at one large intersection that occurs either on a bridge over the interstate or down below the interstate. So it's kind of right at where the interstate crosses the arterial, in this case Route 13. It creates usually a large structure to accommodate all those lanes and the curved roadways that come in. With this SPUI configuration, we would have 2 left turn lanes on all the ramps, as well as dual rights for that westbound to northbound movement, and 3 lanes going northbound here to accommodate the traffic demands. By having a single intersection, that does provide some additional spacing between Norton, so it kind of separates those 2 intersections a little bit better, and would have additional through lanes there between the 44 interchange and Norton Road. Approximate cost of $26 million. And here with the future traffic volumes, Norton Road operates okay at level service D. That's kind of the lowest grade you'd be able to accept and still pass, I suppose, in 2050. But the level service for the ramps, the combined ramps at that single intersection, is a level service E, so right at capacity. Not much additional growth for any unexpected increases of traffic volumes there with the SPUI interchange. One of the larger interchange alternatives that was considered was constructing a new interchange connection to the west, kind of near where Park Street is currently. There would be a single ramp exit for both the new Park Street connection as well as 13. So you would exit Interstate 44 in either direction and be on a collector distributor system, a CD roadway that would allow you to get off and then either ultimately exit at 13 or ultimately exit at Park Street. What this would do would pull about 30% of the traffic coming to and from the north away from the 13 interchange and shift that over to Park Street. With this, the 13 interchange would still need to be improved. It would still require one of those other alternatives that we looked at previously. It does have a fair amount of right-of-way impacts, but it does result in good operations with level service C and B for both Norton and the 2 ramp intersections. For these volumes, we assume that expanded DDI configuration, so widening of the existing configuration of the interchange. The cost of this, though, would be in that $61+ million range for all these new roadway connections. Here we're showing a little bit more of a detailed view of what the connection to I-44 would be with the Park Street interchange. You can see that there are the ramps that are part of that collector distributor roadway system that continue to the bottom of the page here to the Route 13 interchange. But the ramps for Park Street itself include a couple of flyover ramps. One of them serves the eastbound to northbound movement if you're heading towards Bolivar, and kind of the companion flyover ramp is a southbound to eastbound ramp that would take you, from the north towards St. Louis. So, and Park Street would be an arterial roadway, 4-lane divided, that would continue up north and connect to Route 13. And with this on new alignment, there is the potential for some environmental impacts and property impacts with the new alignment. But one of the advantages of this companion interchange is that it does allow for this improvement to be done without impacts to the existing Route 13 interchange. So it would make it easier to construct. For the northern connection to Route 13, there are a couple alternatives that are shown, and really there could be others that would be determined through further design and evaluation if this alternative moves forward. So alternative 4A is the one that connects further to the north. So it's a more direct shot to Route 13. It kind of connects where where Route 13 bends towards the east. It does have some potential right-of-way impacts as you're looking at the properties along Farm Road 139. The second alternative, alternative 4B, curves and minimizes some of those right-of-way and property impacts, but it does kind of create a more indirect route to Route 13 to the north. So you start turning east and then turn back towards the west to continue down to the Park Street interchange. So that results in a little bit less actual roadway construction and fewer right-of-way impacts, but it is a less direct connection from Route 13 to and from the north to the new Park Street arterial and interchange. One of the other larger interchange types that was considered was one that constructed a new southbound to eastbound flyover ramp. So this large movement of southbound traffic on Route 13 that goes eastbound on 44 would be pulled out of the interchange and serviced by a new flyover ramp that would go up and over 13 and come back down and tie into 44. With the profile for this movement to get over 13 and the ramps would require the closure of the west leg of Norton Road. So the west leg of Norton Road would be moved up further to the north away from the flyover ramp. The through movements at Norton would be done by a new bridge that would take 13 over the new 13 or the Norton connection. So Norton would go under Route 13 here, and access to 13 from Norton Road would be done by right in, right out intersections on both sides. So all traffic movements could be served by getting off of 13, making a right on Norton and looping around and getting to your destination. Um, so it eliminates any of the delays associated with the 13 intersection, but does require a little bit longer routing to go. The ultimate trade-off being about even for the amount of time you would have to sit and wait at that signal, because that signal is now removed. So you have a free flow connection, but maybe a little bit of additional travel. The cost of this alternative is 61 million. What it does do is it provides very little delays at Norton, operating at level service A, so it's getting the best grade from an operation standpoint for both the west and east connection on the Norton. Pulling all that traffic away for that southbound to eastbound movement means that the west ramp intersection would operate at level service D, so at an acceptable amount of delays for our future volumes, and at level service B for the eastbound ramp. The construction of the interchange could be done in phases, the way it's been designed. So because it is of a larger cost, there are ways to do this improvement in phases that it would be a little bit easier to fund with the current financial constraints on the project. Phase one would construct the flyover ramp, which would see the largest benefit by pulling that traffic away. In order to do that, though, the Norton Road improvements would have to be done at the same time as well. So phase one includes the southbound to eastbound flyover ramp and the Norton Road improvements. Now, these tying connections could be roundabouts, could be signalized. Further study as we get into the details that this alternative moves forward could see those intersection types be slightly modified. The second phase is reconstruction of the westbound off-ramp. So currently that ramp is rather short and doesn't provide much queuing or decisions as you choose lanes. So phase two would be the reconstruction of that to provide some additional capacity and safety improvements. Phase 3 would be the replacement of the 13 bridge and reconfiguration of the interchange. And finally, the fourth phase would be a similar improvements to the eastbound ramp. Now, phase 1 and phase 2 should see acceptable operations for about 10 years, so that would give us time to fund the remainder of the project and solve most of the problems in the near term. As we looked through all the different interchange alternatives, we looked at how long it was expected it would take to travel along 13, basically to and from Norton on the north end to the Walmart signal on the south end, so about 2/3 of a mile. You can see by doing nothing, the travel time, especially in the PM peak hour, becomes quite large, nearing 10 minutes to go southbound for those directions at 524 seconds. With all these different improvements and combination of changes at Norton, you can see those delays become less as those traffic volumes are served by these improvements to the interchange system. With the southbound to eastbound flyover ramp being, in the most case, providing the shortest amount of travel time as we continue up and down the corridor. So from a traffic operation standpoint, seems to be the preferred alternative.